Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow-Driven CEO podcast. I have from Los Angeles. I'm going to not just say LA. I'm going to say Los Angeles for you, Sarah. Sarah Auda. Nice to meet you, Sarah. Couldn't get that out then.
It's good to be here, Bee. Thank you.
Thank you. And I always say it's Monday, like one or so PM. Tuesday
Hmm.
morning here. You're in the past, I'm in the future, but we're in the
Yeah.
present moment. Isn't that cool?
I didn't,
Like I
I didn't
came
even
up.
think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
true though? Like, and funnily enough, we were just having a bit of a chit chat around what it means to be more present. So, there you
Yeah.
go. Sarah, you're the founder of Three Beats Consulting. I love that name. It gives me all this energy, the three, like I just go beats, like it's just this, yeah, I'm keen to hear how that name came about, which is a boutique
Yep.
practice helping professionals and teams define success on their own terms, then build toward it with clarity, capacity, and choice.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that? It happens to
Serious
me all the time.
Siri is on. Siri is on silence, and she started talking to me. How's that? I need to put that phone way away. Anyway, sorry about that. We can always remove that. I'll say that again. So, Three Beats Consulting, a boutique practice helping professionals and teams define success on their own terms, then build toward it with clarity, capacity, and choices. From big tech and entertainment to founders and educators, Sarah's work centers on designing lives and careers people don't need a vacation from. Sarah, that's pretty incredible. But what was even more incredible for me, and I am learning so much about the various people that I'm interviewing, and amazing people, I should say at that. But when you booked in for the podcast, and I have this one question, what's, one unique insight, lived experience in life, leadership, and or business? You sent me this really long paragraph, and I'm just going to read it and then I'm going to hand it over to you. But after 15 years in executive roles, I woke up to devastating news. A dear friend was killed at work. In the 2 years that followed, I lost 20 more people I loved. Grief made one thing unmistakably clear. Life is too short to spend it building someone else's dreams. With a newborn on my hip and no safety net, I walked away from my corporate life and founded Three Beats Consulting. I wanted ownership of my time, my energy, and the impact I create. 8 years later, I help professionals define what success means to them and build it. Some choose 20-hour work weeks, some scale to multi-millions, some quit and start over, others move abroad. From teams at Google, Disney, and Amazon to small business owners and educators, I help people design lives and careers I don't need a vacation from. Wow. Over to
Yeah.
you.
Well, you and I were just chatting about this before we started, and I find myself emotional, at just hearing that back, the reminder of what the last 10 years has held, in motherhood, in business, in loss, in grief. And, um, I'm one of those people who really focuses, like one of my frameworks, one of my pillars in life is using everything for my learning, my growth, and my enrichment, no matter what it is, whether that's traumas or broken relationships or disappointments. It's like, what have I learned from that? How am I applying the learning now? How has that made me a better person? How has it given me more perspective instead of the woe is me, now I can't do anything. And, the ego does come in, of
Oh,
course, as you
yes.
know, but I think one of the gifts that came to me over these last 10 years has been the gift of loss.
Mm.
And, my friend was lost in workplace violence. And we know in the States, like gun laws are very
Yeah.
wide and broad. And she was killed by gun, and that was something that just for me, and there were two other staff as well. That it's one of those moments that sticks with you. When you see a news headline, you can be somewhat removed, but when you see someone on there, it just changes the context, right? And so she was 42 years old, 8-year-old daughter, married to her high school sweetheart. I knew her bucket list, the trip to Disney World, the trip to Hawaii, like the things that they had on the docket for the next year. I had been working in corporate, and that's how I met her, because we worked in the same industry. And she was a psychologist, she was a doctor. So she was helping very sick people work through, they were veterans of war that she was working with. So she's really working through, right, in such a service-based capacity, helping people find equilibrium after their trauma,
Yeah.
and such a worthy cause, right? And so when her life was ended, I was left with the devastation of her unlived life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was in a place at that time where I had a newborn. I was working for the seventh wealthiest man in Beverly Hills. I had, right, private flights and I was traveling all the time for work. I had made it to kind of the upper echelons of what I thought were possible for me as a female, as an executive. In my industry, that was really rare. And so I kind of felt like I had these golden handcuffs.
Mm.
I wasn't fully fulfilled in what I was doing, but I was like, well, who else is going to pay me this? And where else am I going to have this lifestyle? I never thought about being an entrepreneur before that. And a week after Jen died, and as these other deaths started to happen, I was looking at myself in the mirror in the bathroom, just puffy face, just the grief with
Yeah.
me.
Overwhelmed.
And yeah, overwhelmed. And I just looked at myself and I was like, would I be okay if today were my last day? Like with what my affairs looked like, with what my energy looked like and my output. And the answer immediately was no. And I was like, okay, it's time to make a change. And I'm divorced, but I talked to my then husband and said, listen, I'm going to quit my job, my big fancy executive job with a fat paycheck. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to give myself 12 months to get a business off the ground. I'm going to hire a coach who can help me do this. And I already knew who I wanted to hire because I'd met her previously and trusted her and knew that she gave results. Um, and yeah, I made over 100,000 in my first year, 250 in my second year, and it just continued from there to now where we have a whole team of contractors and assistants, and we're working with some incredible teams here in Los Angeles and globally, honestly. So, but what I will say, and I know I'm hogging the mic here a little bit, in that process personally, I've read the book, The Top Five Regrets of the Dying. And that book gave me a filter for now the work I do with my clients. Because a lot of my clients, they've kind of gotten to where they thought they wanted to be. They
Mm.
got the promotion, they became the CEO, they got the big fancy title and the big paycheck. And they're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. So then they're dealing with the grief and disappointment of, I worked so hard to get here. How do I manage that this is not what I thought it would be? And so the truth of the matter is, we're all going to die. That's the one thing we all have in common. And so, how do we want to live in the meantime? So, the top five regrets of the dying, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Whew, like that just, right, really hits me. I wish I had had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends, and I wish I would have let myself be happier. And there's two of those that for me like really strike a chord. And I'm sure for anyone listening, and maybe you, like there's one or two that's just like, oh, so convicting.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's like if we reverse maneuver that and we ask the opposite of the questions, right? How can I let myself be happier? How can I express my feelings more? How can I be more courageous in living the life that's mine to live? That will transform our lives. That will then help us redefine what success means, which success means something different for everyone. Success might be making 75,000, taking a week off every month, traveling the world for a month every summer, and picking up your kid at school, right? Let out time. Like everyone's definition is different. And so, but the point is like living with the end in mind is something that can just enrich our experience professionally and personally.
Yeah, wow. What a story. Like, seriously, like, just to, and I hear so often, and I was the same when you get to the top of your game and you go, I'm here now, but like, this is like, I am so unfulfilled. It's not funny. That's what happened to
Yes.
me. I was just like, I felt like I didn't exist. I was just like, what is going on here? And I had a very similar,
Yeah.
moment where I looked at myself and I said, would I be happy if I died tomorrow? I was like, no, I actually wouldn't. I actually wouldn't.
Mm,
And yet from the outside, everything looked incredible, but on the inside,
mhm.
I was dying for on the
You
inside.
knew. You
Yeah,
knew. Yeah.
quite literally. But to have
Yeah.
a friend who, who passes away the way they passed, your friend passed away, it's not only traumatic, but it's just this,
Mhm.
I know, I guess for me, it's a grief, but it's also an awakening, right? So I look at
100%.
grief now and go, there's a grief component, but there's also the awakening, like, what are you doing? And I
Yeah.
think that is probably what's happened to you when you stare in the mirror. It's like, what are you doing? It's like they're whispering at you, what are you doing? Like, my one of my friends, she passed away earlier this year, and I just feel like she gave me this gift of an awakening because it's like, what are you doing? And I don't know if this happened to you, but there's been quite a few things this year since she's passed where I'm just like, no, it's just weird. It just comes
Uh-huh.
out of my mouth and I just say, no, I'm not doing that. Or
Yeah.
I've done some pretty, not crazy, but just made some decisions where I'm like, whoa, like that was just definitive. Like I just said no to it because it was just like not serving me any longer.
Yes.
And it opened up
What?
these doors. And I'm like, oh, but generally once upon a time I would have just sat on it and just waited or stewed on it or just
Mm,
kept putting up with it. Did that happen to you?
that's a great question. Um, I mean, as you were talking, what came to me, and we might have different language around this, right? It's ownership and victimhood, or
Yeah,
above the line thinking and below
yeah,
the line thinking. But I think, and you know what was devastating for me is that when I went to my friend's funeral, it was very sad, right? I mean, everyone is devastated because of how it happened and all of, all of the different pieces of that. But what was interesting is a year later, almost everyone's life looked exactly the same. They were in marriages they were unhappy with, they were in jobs that they didn't love, they were, right, working for the man or whatever you call it, like the terminology. But and that to me was devastating. Like, how can you walk away from something like that without a change, like without a profound shift? And what I realized is, for me anyway, and this is no judgment about anyone else, but for me, that wasn't my karma, right? That wasn't my calling. For me, that was the pivotal life moment. And I had had my daughter 6 months before, right? So I'm like a new mom and all my hormones are crazy and I'm not sleeping, right? And then this happens. And there were lots of people who were like, oh, you're just making a reactionary choice. And I would just knew in my body, I was like, no, this is my legacy. This is my yes. I don't know if it's going to be forever, but it's certainly going to be for the next part of my life. Um, so I think there was this choice to use that for my growth, like to let the grief show me what mattered and to really highlight what my core values are, which I think a lot of us pick our core values who work for ourselves or in business as kind of an arbitrary thing that we kind of have to do and make our elevator pitch. But when we really have our core values, like for me, it's simplicity, quality, and intentionality. Simplicity, quality, intentionality. If those things are not present, it's a no. And that's in my personal life and in my business. It's how I run my business. So I feel like that infuses and guides us to what our own definition of success is. I'm not here to build an empire. I'm not here for hundreds of millions of followers. I'm not here to be an Oprah. I'm here to really help people who are ready to go to the next level
mm,
and to start dealing with like what's in the way of that. What are the beliefs? What are the behaviors? Let's help you find your true north and help you get there because everyone's definition of success is going to be different. So it's not just helping people get to be a CEO. It's like, how can we actually quit the CEO job so you can go move to wherever you want to move to and have the life you
yeah,
want? So,
yeah, I love
and,
that.
and the fact that you've channeled so much of yourself and learnings into this, I think you and I are similar in that way, moving from corporate and saying, you know what? Now we're going to take all of our transferable skills, all of our experience, and channel it into support for people in this particular way. That's a huge service in the world. And I think we need more people who have a pulse on their
Agree.
heartbeat and what they're here to do and contribute.
I agree, especially in the world we're in,
Yeah.
right? It's so hectic, so busy, and like you talk to everybody and they're just exhausted and they're working for the man or they're just like, keep trying to keep up and like it's
Yeah.
all this external stuff that they're trying to keep up with versus what about what's going on on the inside? What's going on in here?
Right.
What's the inside asking of you? And for
Yeah.
me, it got louder and louder and louder, this inside noise, my soul basically, and it was just screaming in the end. And I was just like this. In the end, I was just like, I can't, like, just stop, stop. And then I had no choice but to, right? I got to a point where it was just like, I had no other choice. It was like I had to, the universe was just like, enough, you're not listening. We're going to start
Mm,
stripping everything away from you. What do you see in a lot of the clients that you're working with in terms of are they coming to you when they're absolutely ready, or do you feel like there's still some aspect of resistance? They come to you, and I guess the question I'm asking is from my own experience is I'll quite often have clients come to me saying that they're ready but when we start getting into the deep work, it's almost like, whoa. I can't do this or I'm not ready for this. And sometimes it's like, okay, it's okay. You're not ready. But it's also me going, I'm not doing transactional. I'm doing this is the work we need to do if you actually truly want to live from the inside out versus the outside in. Do you,
Yes. Yeah,
do
that
you,
distinction is great. Yeah.
yeah, the sort of clients that you get coming to you, is it similar in terms of that quite often, or they're at a
I mean, it's a
crossroad?
mix. It's a mix. I think that we are so fortunate to be in a day and age where Brene Brown and Elizabeth Gilbert and Glennon Doyle, like where we have these incredible people who are talking about transformation and divorce and miscarriage and like all these things that we don't talk about. And even, death and grief and loss. And I think that we're in a time where personal transformation is really accessible.
Mm,
Now, the unfortunate, I don't even know if I mean what I say when I say unfortunate, actually. What I find is that sometimes people come to me thinking that they're ready, but when we start getting into the work, right? When we start getting into some of the reflection and the prompts, like, what are your core values? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? What are some pain points for you? What are some beliefs that are in the way? That might be a little too advanced, right? So there are a lot of people who I think have the idea that if they pay for the service, they'll get the transformation, but the insides just aren't there yet. So I actually have a process. It's a three-phase process. So part of
yeah,
where three beats comes from
yeah,
is that there
cool.
are three stages of change. So we have to like identify what's happening. Then we get to explore new ways and modalities of solutions, getting to the core root of the cause. And then we get to see what works and then implement that in a structured and systematic way. So, those are the three stages, right? It's just as simple as that. Where people are at in their trajectory is going to be different. I love meeting people where they're at, but I'm also very upfront to say, listen, we're going to have an initial consult. We're going to see what's there. If I think I can help, we'll have a diagnostic. We'll get under the hood of the car. We're going to test things out. We're going to see where you're at. However, before we do that, have you invested in a coach before? What did you learn? What kind of investment financially did you make? Were you happy with the results? Like, I'm not a first stop for most people. Most people have invested pretty heavily in their personal and professional development before they work with me. That's just where my fees are. That's just where my programming is. So I'm pretty unashamed in saying, if this is your first time, it's not that we can't work together, but I'm just letting you know you're going to a PhD versus a BA, right?
Yeah.
Like a bachelor's degree, right? So and that's okay. Like we can help you get there. We can work with where you are. If I'm not the right person, I have people I can refer to, or I might have some resources that you can work on for 6 to 12 months.
Mm,
Read this book, watch this talk, take this course, and then let's reconvene in a few months and see where you're at.
mm.
Because I never want anyone to feel if they're truly hungry, that gap, that jump doesn't matter much. If they're ready and they're willing to invest and they're energetically on that same vibration that I'm at, we can do magic together, of course,
Mm.
but it has everything to do with like the willingness, right, and the openness and the readiness. And not everyone is. So I think there's like different stages, right? And you just meet people where they're at and you resource them where they're at.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. And I think it's really important
Yeah.
to be able to acknowledge that, that you may not be ready, but I've got other resources or like this,
Yeah.
I love that the PhD analogy as well, because
Yeah.
what you're doing is strategic. It's a lot of investment of your time, your energy
Yes.
as well. And I think it's a
Yeah.
partnership at the end of the day. And I think that
It is.
coming back to our corporate worlds, my clients are no different to the clients I had in my corporate world. Do you know what I mean? Like I treat them
Right.
exactly the
Yeah.
same. Like it, and what they get in return, like it's not just a transactional 1 hour chat or like 3 sessions and that's it. There's a lot that
Right.
goes into these. And I think that for me is something in the industry we're in now that we need to elevate more of, because I think that
Mm,
quite often it can be seen as just not just, but it's, oh yeah, it's just 3 sessions, or it's a 6 week program or whatever, but it's actually it's fundamentally life defining, and or can be career and life defining. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I haven't spoken to anyone on the show about this, but I think that this,
yeah.
we need more of this in the world. And I was funnily enough, I was looking at something last night online, and it called out some of the roles that are going to be more and more um, pivotal coming into kind of the new world order we're in. And it was interesting, and
Mm,
it was life design, it was reshaping careers. I'm just paraphrasing this. You
uh-huh.
know, burnout and like tech and all that sort of. It was really interesting actually because I was like, oh, there you go. More like this is what we
Yeah.
need more of, you know?
Well, what's interesting, and I know you and I both work very relationally, very personally,
Yeah.
right? And someone asked me the other day, they said, look, our organization is experimenting with AI coaches and real human coaches, and we're doing a diagnostic assessment to see which is more compatible for our people, our mission, our budget, all the things. I was like, listen, I think that's actually great. She's like, you're the first coach who's ever said that they're in support of that. I said, well, let me tell you why. AI will never replace what I do. AI is for information and a human is for transformation. So if you want to utilize AI for prompts, if organization, structure, right, an energy cadence calendar, amazing, right? That can do that. But if you want to really get into the shifting of beliefs, framework, mindset, and action, right? That's where the human is going to be valuable. And Simon Sinek did a recent interview, who I'm a massive fan of,
Right.
and he said what we are going to start seeing is a rise in value for the human experience. So any industry that has an actual human interacting and interfacing, the prices are going to go up, the demand is going to go up, and the whole value is going to go up because we're going to be providing something that automation can't.
Mm.
And when you think about white glove treatment and luxury travel, like I'm obsessed with hospitality, Michelin star restaurants, like I'm so immersed in that world and like learning it and studying it and experiencing it. And the thing that people want is they will pay for a human to take care of things for them. There's a reason for that. And so I think as I look at the trajectory of where our industry is going, I don't think for those of us who actually do transformational work, we're not going anywhere. I don't think we need to worry about job security at all because our ideal clients are going to understand that divide of the human experience and what is possible with that, the momentum and the inspiration and the connection that comes from that versus just information, which again, also great. You can pick up a book and read it and you can get growth from that. But there's a different level, right? There's a systemic, like sustainable level of change that can happen when there's human accountability.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think that
Yeah,
we're going to be more and more pivotal, but I think transformation, more and more people are like the world is unwell, let's face it, like in terms of
true.
and I kind of again everyone's exhausted. Everyone's been like this year is just feels like it's just
Oh,
the
this
last.
year has been put us all through the ringer. Yeah,
Yeah, like we're all over it.
yeah,
It's like it's only just November and it's like can Christmas come sooner? Like I was even thinking yesterday, I just want 2 week break. I just want the break. So I just want the break, right? Because it's just
yeah, of
have been
course.
we've been
Yeah,
put through the ringer.
yeah.
And so for me, that whole notion of just work, 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 no rest, or getting to
Hmm,
that
hmm,
point of Christmas time,
hmm.
you call out that you don't need a vacation. We all kind of, designing lives and careers that you do not need a vacation from. I love that because that should be the way we live. That should be the way we lead. But yet we all
Yes,
still in the grind of working to get to that vacation, right? And with AI, the
yes.
revolution of it coming in, like it isn't sustainable. So how do we structure it? But that calls for us
Oh,
to all slow
yeah,
down. That all calls for us to all slow down, be more
yeah.
present. I'm real and pause. And yet when you speak to people and you're like if we pause here for a moment, they're like, I can't pause. Like everything's got to keep going. It's like, yeah, but if we pause now, the benefits long term.
Yes.
What's your thoughts
Because
on
then we
that?
can mitigate. Yes. Because then we can. So when I was in my 20s, I was hospitalized with gastritis, IBS, like all of these gastrointestinal issues They were like, you need to change your lifestyle. I graduated college early. I went straight into a master's program. I went straight out of the master's program into higher education. I immediately applied for a PhD program. I was like 26. I was teaching in college classrooms, which I had no business doing, even though I had the degree. I was like, these kids are like a few years younger than me, right? And I was just like, go, go, go. And I really had to sit with my identity. Right. When I had a burnout moment in my 20s, I also had one in my 30s. It was like, not everyone needs to end up in a hospital with stomach issues to be able to have the realization that maybe they're working too hard. And what is the attachment to the end goal? And I kept thinking more degrees, more experience is going to make me worthy. It's going to make me better. It's going to make me wanted. And so I was chasing this thing that was actually mine to fulfill inside through deep therapy and lots of process and coaching and mentoring and support and lots of different,
So much in common.
modalities, Yeah. And I was like, I never have to do that again. So what is it that I actually crave? What does my soul want? I want slowness. And I live in a very fast city, the city of entertainment. Like Los Angeles is not known for being a calm place, right? And your nervous system is on fire here just with the stimulation. So one of the things I would say be, and this is something over the last like 5 years I've really gotten into is our body management and energy management and our nervous system is a part of how we need to work. So we need to also keep in mind what kind of margin do I need between sessions? This week, I have like three major events. So I'm like, I'm not taking on any other client sessions. Like I'm taking empty time, space, and margin because I need to sleep, I need to hydrate, I need to nourish myself. If I'm going to show up with quality, which is one of my core values, then what is going to help me do that? And so being an entrepreneur, and this is something actually on Thursday, I'm walking people through a 3-hour workshop on this. I have clients look at the year ahead as a pie. And we look at Q1, 2, 3, and 4. So we look at every month. We look at what have you already committed to? What are you creating? What is the cadence of your energy? And basically assessing where is there an over commitment of your
Mhm.
time and energy? Where can we create more margin? Can we delete, delegate, or delay anything, right? That's coming up. And then put them in the ownership seat and say, what do you want to take time off for? What kind of activities do you want to do? So, what's your 2026 bingo card, right? What books you want to read and trips you want to take and friends you want to have happy hours with? You can plan that now. You can actually set up
Yeah,
your energy
100%.
cadence,
Mm.
right? To accommodate what it is. And it took me a while. It took me until I knew my business could work, until I could relax into knowing I can take a month off and not lose money or clients. I know how to do that now, and now I help my clients do that. But most people think that's not possible. So if we can just get them above the line thinking a bit and be like, it's not about possibility, it's about you want this, how do you make that work? What would need to happen in order for that to occur? It puts people in a place of dreaming and inspiration. So, to look at the year ahead and to be like, what am I putting out there? And not just waiting for referrals to come in, right? Or for opportunities to come in. What am I actively moving into? It really helps people feel a sense of ownership, but then it also gives them a practicum. And then one of the things I would say, and I'm sure you do this with your clients too. I'm like, there needs to be an annual reflection. What did the last year hold? An annual visioning. What do you want for the next year? A quarterly check in. Where am I at with these things? A monthly reflection. What have I learned? What do I want to shift? Right? Where's my energy management needing to be edited? What do I want more of or less of? Like, let me look at the data. How much have I made? How many sessions have I had? How many events have I spoken at? Whatever the case might be. And then daily rituals. And the only difference between a routine and a ritual is intention. So even to invite people into light a candle, take 3 deep breaths, and make yourself a cup of tea, that's a ritual, right? That's something that can actually calm your nervous system before you go into your day at work. So I know I'm talking fast and I'm saying a lot here, but I think energy cadence is a big part of how we take care of ourselves and the vision we have. So getting clear on your core values, getting clear on your yeses, getting clear on your nos, and then having regular structured systems
Yeah.
and times where you're checking in with that. Because I want people to design a life they love and not default into just reacting. And most people are unhappy because they're just reacting all day, every day.
Yeah, I think it's back to being strategic and proactive, right? Proactive in what you're
Yes.
doing to design your life so
Yeah.
it works for you, not against you. And I love the energy
Yeah.
cadence because it's so true. Like, but I love that
Yes.
it's funny you were talking away and I had a question for you, and then you just started talking about it, which
Oh
same page. No,
no.
because
Sorry.
you're talking about your even your own week. Because I always ask any entrepreneur,
Mm,
and I know we're coming to the end of our time together, but in terms of how do you manage your own time, and you've just talked about it because I love the way you
yeah.
said, making sure that you've got 3 events this week. You're like knowing how to say no. Did that take you? Like you've gone from being a corporate, you're going to being an entrepreneur. You have a coach helping you,
Hmm.
to kind of get you to kind of where you want to go with your own business. Every person I'm talking to, they have their moments as an entrepreneur where it's like, is this going to get off the ground? Like, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, you have those, and or you have a bank of clients, and all of a sudden there's a lull, or you win a client and then something happens. Like, there's always stuff that happens, right? Like, but were there any moments for you where you were just like, I guess what the question is, how long did it take you before you were like, okay, I can't do everything. I actually have to make this work for me in terms of everything you've just been talking about? Or did you always set it up that
Oh. Oh yeah, definitely not. Because I went from 15 years in corporate work. So I've been working for myself for 8 years. So I did 15 years in corporate. Other people put things on my calendar. I was, right, reacting to the needs of the president of the company or the executive board or whatever, right? So I didn't have a whole lot of agency in that. When I started working for myself, again, I'd never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. Like this is something I kind of fell into out of pain and grief and clarity of like, I think this is the way I'm supposed to go. So it took me about 3 years. Like there was like a 3 year shift. So in year three, I was like, okay, I know I can make multiple six figures. I know I have systems in place. I have leadership, like I have a reputation. I know this can work. So I can relax a little bit. And then I think over the course of that next year, I took 9 weeks off total in the whole year, which is like unheard of for Americans. I know other countries have a much more beautiful perspective on time off. And I was like, okay, this can work. And then I think in year five, I hit almost $500,000. And I was like, okay, and now I know this can work. And I was like, I can really create systems now. And I don't think that has to be the case for everyone, but for me,
no?
that was like a release. Also, that 5 year mark, right? Once a company, I almost thought recently, I was like, I think I should just work with people who've been in business for over 5 years because there's just a different conversation that happens
I agree.
when you've crossed that mark. Anyway, so I would say in the last 3 years, I've been much more involved in my clients' lives of helping them measure and design their energy cadence over the next year and creating systems. So here's the thing. I think if anyone isn't making the kind of money they want to make or isn't feeling fulfilled, they need to have systems and leadership. I think those are the two things, whatever that means to them. But there has to be some way to measure what you're doing output and input wise, right? Where is the return on investment? I know a lot of people who are spending time doing things that are not bringing conversions. That's a problem. We want to look at where are conversions happening, and that's where a majority of your energy should be. But that can't be 365 days a year.
No.
And so helping people remember your clients will mold into the structure you give them. So if you say, I take a week off every quarter, I'm not available every December, whatever it is, right? Your clients will just assume from the get-go that that's the cadence, right? There's an expectation that's set. So I think for any of us as leaders, like we get to set the context for expectation. And so if we have a regular system of annual, quarterly, monthly, and weekly check-ins to ensure we're getting what we need and we're making ourselves available, but then we're also in turn making sure that our clients feel like they have a high level of trust for when we're available and what that looks like. Trust, it all comes down to trust, but systems and leadership, I think, are the two top things that
I
help
could not
any
agree more.
leader
Like
drive business.
I've been banging on it about it for years. I mean, I always used to
I'm
say
sure.
you can't have a culture without a system, and
Yeah.
you can't have a system without a culture. Add
Yeah.
leadership into that. And I think it's also to do with your staff, setting those expectations with your team, your staff as well, not just your clients. because
Yes.
because once upon a time I was a free for all for my 150 staff, and then it was just like, it was only that working with my assistant, my exec, she's like,
Yes.
we've got to get something going on here. So I think
Yes.
systems is critical, and you get a I get, the times I've had eye rolling at me as if to say, here she goes again. She's banging on about the process. She's banging on about the system, but it's critical. Like it's what
Yeah.
makes everything go around. Like I'm a stickler for it. Sarah, two more
Yes.
questions for you. What would be one? It's not even a question. What would be one piece? Get that. Sarah's doing it again. Siri's talking to me today. I'm just gonna let Siri play. It's like I
Uh-huh.
was asking for the information. What would be one piece of advice you would give anybody who they'd faced some form of adversity and they were at this crossroads of, I know something's got to change, but I don't know where to start.
Hmm.
What would be your initial piece of advice to somebody in that situation?
I mean, truly, like the short answer is hire someone who can help facilitate a conversation where you can get, into that.
Mm,
Secondarily, I think, and this could be for anybody, do a miracle inventory of your life, right? 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, etc. What were all of the moments that have occurred for you that were outside of your control, where the divine or universe or life or whatever you want to call it, right? There was something that happened that opened a door, made a connection, right? Opened an opportunity, a job, a relationship, right? A place to live, whatever it is, because we're not in this alone. And when leaders feel like it is 100% on them and we're not in some sort of partnership with some sort of greater energy force, that's when we can get into like the toxic striving. And so my mindset, this is just me personally, and I might turn people off by it, but I'm like, we're only 50% of the equation. We're dealing with the whole other energy, 50%. So know what your part is. If
agree
you're
more.
taking action and you're supporting yourself, great. But then you also want to look at where have I come from and what were those miracles that have brought me to where I am. That then gives you, right, a guiding post to see like, okay, if life's taking care of me for 45 years or whatever, right? Like life's going to continue to take care of me in these ways. So I'm just going to continue with faith and persistence and action.
Love it. Yeah, so true
Yeah,
about the 50%. We have so little we have control over, right? And
that's
like,
true.
it's so true. And yet we still want me talking, still at times want to be attached to this outcome. But the what I've realized now is like the universe, whatever you want to call it has a plan for me. So I can try
Yes.
and control it all I like. But it does this now. It just goes, nah, we're going to go completely opposite because you keep holding on. Like,
Yeah.
I think the other bit of this is just listen for the nudges, the awareness, right? Last
Oh,
but
your
not
inner wisdom. Yeah.
yeah, what's next for Sarah? What's next for Three Beats Consulting? What is like you've like
Oh,
8 years, that's hugely successful. Congratulations, by
yeah.
the way. I love your
Thank you.
story.
Thank you.
What is next?
What is next is 2026 is completely dedicated to entrepreneurs. So I have a Substack. There's a free version and a paid version. But every month I run a masterclass on, how to create more dynamic proposals, efficiency in your daily systems, how to raise your fees without losing clients. So, and energy management, because that's so much a part of this. So all of 2026 is content created specifically with entrepreneurs and small business owners in mind. So that's heavy, like that's heavy on my heart in a good way. Like that's mine to do, I feel. And then yeah, just continuing to serve my individual clients and loving time with my daughter and, exposing myself to new books and resources. And I would say at the end here, two books that I think are so incredible and dynamic, on top of Top Five Regrets of the Dying, are The Power of Moments, which you might already be familiar with,
No.
Chip Heath and Dan Heath. But it's all about like how do you create extraordinary, memorable moments out of ordinary
Oh, I
experiences,
love that. Yeah.
which is amazing for business and it's also amazing for human life, right? And the other one is Die with Zero. And that book is really around, we kind of squirrel away money for the future and retirement and all of that. But are we actually living a life that is full and fulfilled in correlation with our body ability, right? So that we're actually living our life now with what we're making, as opposed to, oh, we're just saving that for family or
Later.
inheritance or, our future.
Very
So
cool.
it's like, yeah.
Love
So
it.
those are two that I would say are some North Stars for me.
Amazing. And Sarah's going to write a
Yeah.
book eventually too.
I have no desire to be honest, but maybe we'll see what life has in store. You
Uh,
definitely should though,
yeah,
Bee.
down
But
the track you may do. You might just go, oh, I might write a book now. People say it to me when you're writing a book. I'm like, when do I have time? Like, I don't know. It's something that's not. It hasn't come to me yet. It hasn't. I haven't felt the need or the desire.
uh-huh.
I do act on things when I feel like they're
Yeah.
energetically aligned to me. Sarah, how do we
Yeah.
find out more about you, Substack, I mean, where you LinkedIn, your business? Yeah, how do we find out more?
So threebeatsconsulting.com. So the letter three, spelled out THREE, threebeatsconsulting.com. And that's where you can link to our Instagram, our LinkedIn, our YouTube, our
Awesome.
Substack. So there's more information there. But if anyone wants to get in touch with me personally, they can just email me at sarah@threebeatsconsulting.com and I will personally respond.
Amazing. It's been an amazing chat with you, Sarah. Thank you. And Siri enjoyed the
Thank
conversation. Siri
Thank you,
into the
B.
conversation just yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because we were talking AI. I don't know. But anyway, apologies about that. But Sarah, thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed
Thank
being
you.
with you and
Same.
have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.